Good morning, good afternoon, good evening all, it's Bear here. I'd like to welcome you to my YouTube channel, A Box with No Lid, a channel I'm creating not just to bring the awareness around the lived reality of trauma, complex trauma and removal trauma, but I really want to bring forward what I've learned and developed through my own personal experiences and my own personal journey, as well as what I've learned over many, many years as an advocate and as a practitioner, with the simple hope that something you may hear or learn here will not only be supportive and helpful in your own healing journey, but also help form the base of so many conversations that are so desperately needed to have, so that we can start to rebuild this awareness that we all need around what we are as a race and as a species and as human beings, and how we can start to reintegrate all of us who have gone through experiences that have overwhelmed, and we can start to come together to create a better world. Now, yes, this is the next video in the adoption series, and I'm still carrying forward with the unpacking of, if we view how our nervous system relates to our emotions, how we physically feel emotion, and if we view it as a sound wave, how our nervous system through survival states gets geared to perceive peaks and troughs, and that part in the middle, the emotional white noise, gets missed. And due to adoption having some unique properties, this is why I want to go into a lot more depth on this side. Also because I'm an adoptee and I live this. The key understanding that changes the way trauma survival states work when you remove and place children with non-biological parents to be raised is it adds another key component at critical developmental stages. That key component is what needs to be valued and understood as part of the process of helping people to come out of this. And I've spent decades talking about this in so many different spheres of conversation in the advocacy side of things, and it's still not grasped or valued, which does drive me to despair, because it blocks what is needed to happen for healing to actually work long term. The components of the fog, the adding of another layer of developmental assessment of how do I fit in and how am I part of the non-biological family that is raising me, on top of the process is the cap on top of the process of everything a person or a baby has to understand or comprehend or process about the whole aspects of removal, everything that happens in removal. All of that turmoil, all of that upheaval, all of the reasons behind it if it's a later removal, all the reasons that cross the placenta when it's an at birth removal, all of that gets capped with a secondary layer of how do I become part of the family that that's raising me. We build and design a non-conscious process of assessment, of cognitive assessment, trying to rule over neurological and emotional process in regards to connection. And this added layer needs to be understood if we're going to work with it. Now, as I said in other videos, if we work or review our nervous system's engagement with how we feel, the physical aspects of emotion, and what feeds and creates and drives our emotional priorities and our emotional connections, if through the survival state created we prioritize the peaks and troughs and we don't develop the connection to the emotional center, which is that emotional white noise, our nervous system, it doesn't register. The emotional priorities of response go to the peaks and troughs. And then you add to that layer of assessment of that question, what do I need to be or who do I need to become to fit in or be part of or solve this situation? It adds another gap to feed that void that is the continuous occurrence when you remove a child and place them with non-biological parents to be raised. The very core of isolation in adoption and in long-term foster care is the void created by that neurological process if I cannot process what happened with my removal. Because I have to prioritize, how am I part of this family that denies the value of that removal? Adoption especially, in adoptive families, it's very, very rare for adoption families to ever discuss in any great depth anything about your removal and placement. You were their child, and your entire child is their process of convincing the world that you are. So there's all these layers that bury in layered of complexity of reasons that you can't go there. So you have this knot of hugely complex emotional and neurological responses and experiences buried within a network of survival state protections, because it's a threat to everything you've tried to create. And nothing in the world values the unpacking of it. So the easiest way to perceive it is a void. It is a no-go area. It's a place that does not exist. And your nervous system is so conditioned and taught to never go there that it creates a void, a gap. And I see it when you're observing adoptees in conversations, especially when emotions start to come into play. If you're trained to see it, if you're aware of it, you'll see it. There are millisecond gaps in response. And in that gap, there is an assessment of what's being asked of me. How do I respond? What do I need to do? What do I need to become? How can I justify? All these things that are all part of our developmental process of assessment, of being part of the family that raised us, come into that microsecond moment. And yes, people go, well, it's such a short time, it'll pass. It's just something you got to accept. But what that does is it continually feeds this gap of separation. And to heal trauma, to heal any components of survival, we need co-regulation to teach our nervous system how to be part of, that we are safe. And if all the neurological signals not only are caught up in that emotional white noise, that we don't recognize them, but then you have that added layer of assessment and analyzing, it takes more understanding and more in-depth steps to be able to create the process that bridges, so that co-regulation is supportive and effective and not negatively reinforcing. Throughout my life, genuine people have tried to help bridge that gap. But because nobody, including myself at those times, did not understand or value that intellectual assessment process that is part of our neurological process, it didn't work. And it ended up feeding that sense of being different and isolated. And it did more harm than good. When you take this into close romantic relationships or close friendships, it adds another layer, because if we don't recognize all the little nuances of connection and our nervous system doesn't respond, not only do we don't feel part of that relationship, but our partner and friends don't either. And because of how we are as a species, and that need to belong and be part of is so critical a base, in time, relationships and friendships either become an emotional grey, which I know is widely accepted, but I don't like to. But it also leads to their end. Now, how do we work with this? Teaching our nervous systems, the same as the video I just uploaded on the other side of this channel. It's those little moment-by-moment interactions that we have throughout a day with, the cashier at a store, the busker in the street, the person on the bus driver, everywhere we go, the colleagues, those little moment-by-moment interactions that can start to teach our nervous system to pay attention to that emotional white noise and start to develop ways of interpreting it and working with it and exploring it. But we also need to understand that that part that we assess is there. And for adoptees and those who've been in long-term foster care, we need to find a way to discover who we were born to be, not who we learned to be. We need to start to try to build ways to bridge the gap to that knot ball of string, for want of a better analogy, that is our neurological block around why we were removed and placed and everything we experienced during that process. And those that are core and key and part of our life need to understand that we need you there to help us to feel safe enough to release and process it, not solve it. All we need is to feel core safe, and our nervous system will start to unpack it and process it naturally. Otherwise, we are forced with what's called the collapse of the fog, where the nervous system finally hits a tipping point and it falls down. And as I've said in other videos, the outcomes are never good. And when it happens, trust me, it takes everything you are from your life. I live it. And there is no understanding out there, and there is no support out there. The medical world doesn't know what to do with this, and they will make you look like a complete nutcase when you try to explain what is going on within your body and nervous system, the twitches and seizures and everything that happens, everything that comes with it, the pain, the physical pain, the muscle spasms and everything, the contortions, everything that comes with it, the fog, the vagueness and everything that happens. And these uncontrollable waves of process that come with the collapsing of the fog. And the reasons why so many don't survive it. They just stop. All of this gets tied up in our nervous system needs neurological connections and reassurance that we are safe. And when we come from this base, we need to realize we have to teach our nervous systems how to do it. It doesn't happen naturally anymore because of what we've been through and because of how long the reinforcement is. It takes conversations and understanding first, which is the whole point of these videos and the whole point of this channel. It can be done because I've seen it done. I've seen adoptees where their adoption family is really good and there's a lot of connections and touchy-feely and all this closest, and they develop this. So if they can, we can, that where our adoptions failed. It's learning from those that have the same background that have found ways out that we can truly develop the ways to heal. That's how I work out how to resolve everything. I look into the world where it has been resolved and then try to find ways to adapt that into my own experiences or the experiences or lives of those that come to me that I talk with. Not to a book, but to people. If we understand this, that our nervous system learns to be one way and through physical experiences, not words, not cognitive stuff, but through physical experiences can learn to be another. And if that other way is supporting our process of safe and healing, we will get out to the other side of it. I really hope you guys value this, and I'm going to continue to do more videos on this because we are at the core heart of what the fog is. We are at the core heart of what is needed to be understood to heal adoption, removal, and long-term placement foster care trauma. Because the part that was taken from us was the loving connection to our biological family. And if we can start to teach our nervous system how to take the intensity of singular connections, a singular connection to a biological mother, a singular connection to a biological father, and broaden them out to a few core people and a few core experiences, we can start to move past it and get our nervous system to allow us to, and to build our life and actually have dreams again. That's one of the hardest things for people who haven't experienced this stuff to grasp, is it takes away your ability to dream, not sleep dream. It takes away to your ability to dream of a life that you can actually have, not a life that's just a fantasy that needs to be protected. I love you guys' comments and feedback. Please be mindful, please be safe, and I will see you all next time.